The deception of Christmas, why it dishonors Yahawah. I wasn't planning on recording this new video on Christmas, but there's new evidence that I'm led to share. We have another Christmas video in the Appointed Times playlist, but this one will hit different. You may be listening to this video on Christmas or sometime thereafter, but I will say, enjoy your family. Create new memories, but also understand what this day really means. Listen until the end to learn what very few know about Christmas. Imagine you get a birthday party, but everyone shows up on the wrong day, brings gifts for someone else, sings to the wrong person, tells lies about how you were born. And worst of all, they say they did it all for you. Would that feel like honor or disrespect? That's what the world has done with Christmas. Today, we're going to uncover the truth. This is not about judgment, but truth. This will be evidence-based, based on scriptural text from the 66 books and other revealed scripture such as 1st Enoch, Jubilees, 2nd Esdras, etc. Given this topic, you might be a first-time listener, so let me quickly define a few original or ancient Hebrew names you'll hear in this video, like Yahawah, Yahawashai, Yahawah. The name of the Most High is Yahawah. That's his ancient name. And it means he who exists, the eternal one. The name of the Messiah or Mashayach is Yahawashai. And his name means he delivers, or salvation of Yahawah. And then the chosen nation of people in covenant with Yahawah is Yahawah, which means upright power with Elohim. Why understanding this today is critical. We live in a world full of a religious mixture. Those in covenant with Yahawah don't practice religion, but using that term helps with understanding this point. Many don't know they are mixing truth with paganism. Revelations 18:4 is a direct warning to Yahawah's people. Come out of her, my people. Just like mixing water with motor oil will ruin your engine, mixing the set-apart ways of Yahawah with traditions of Babylon corrupts our worship. Yahawah's word requires no additions, no mixture. Deuteronomy 12:32 says, don't add or take away. And it reads like this: all the words I am commanding you, guard to do it. Do not add to it, nor take away from it. Amos 5:21 and Isaiah 1:14, they show that Yahawah hates man-made feasts. It goes on to say in Amos, I have hated, I have despised your festivals, and I am not pleased with your assemblies. Now, notice that he says, your, not mine. I have hated. He has hated. He has despised your festivals. I am not pleased with your assemblies, not his festivals, not his assemblies, the ones that man has created. Then in Isaiah 1:14, my being hates your new moons, your appointed times. They are a trouble to me. I am weary of bearing them. See, Yahawah is specific in what he accepts, period, and what he hates. You know, if a child draws a picture for their parent and someone else scribbles over it and changes it, the gift becomes ruined. Yahawah gave us a picture of pure worship. We cannot scribble on it with traditions. December 25th, it's a sun god birthday. Tammuz, Mithras, Sol Invictus were all born on December 25th, or said to be born on December 25th. These were not righteous figures. They were false deities. Christmas adopted these dates and rituals like trees and lights and giving gifts. So if someone takes a rotten apple and dips it in chocolate, does it become a new apple? No, it just looks sweet. That's what Christmas is, a pagan tradition dipped in spirituality. But we see in Jeremiah chapter 10, it talks about worshiping trees, tree worship, and decorating those trees. We know it today as a Christmas tree. The Wisdom of Solomon in chapter 14 says that these type of customs, they begin with kings' decrees. So kings, authorities, they have devised these holidays, in particular this day of Christmas, devised by man. And we'll see that clearly here in a moment. But there isn't a verse in Scripture anywhere where December 25th is Yahawashai's birthday. There is no scriptural support. None. Zero. So Satan's strategy is clear. His strategy is all about mixture so that he can lead others in deceit through deceitful practices. Satan comes as a messenger of light, and we see that in 2 Corinthians 11:14. In 1 Enoch, it says that the watchers taught corrupt ways. And what do they do? They corrupt appointed times. They corrupt appointed days. And those practices are still in existence today. Jubilees warns about Yahshua forgetting Yahawah's true calendar. It says they will forget the feast. Satan doesn't destroy by obvious evil. He mixes a little lie with a lot of truth, like poison and lemonade. It's mostly good, but that one drop can kill. Again, there is no scripture that supports December 25th. December 25th, the Christmas holiday, Christmas itself, is a deception. It's a lie. Luke 2:8, it tells us that the shepherds were in the field, and they were in the field, and it wasn't in wintertime. There is no command to celebrate the Messiah, Mashayach, his birth. There's zero. So this is what we know, that Christmas is a renamed Roman festival. Christmas was not celebrated by early believers. There is no command that exists in Scripture to celebrate the Messiah's birth. The disciples, the apostles, the early assemblies in the 1st and 2nd century, they never observed a birthday of Yahawashai. Instead, they remembered his death and his resurrection as commanded in Luke 22:19 and 1 Corinthians 11:26. And those passages of Scripture, they're aligned with Pesach, or with Passover. They're used today for communion that was authorized by the Catholic Church, but It's not communion. It is Passover. That's what the day represents. It's celebrated once a year, not every Sunday or once a month. It's once a year on Pesach, which is Passover. That's what Luke 22:19 and 1 Corinthians 11:26 are really pointing to and observing. Is Passover, not a communion. So where did December 25th come from? Where does this day of Christmas come from? You see, December 25th was a birthday, or is a birthday, of pagan sun deities. I mentioned some of these major sun deities earlier that are celebrated on December 25th. But let's look at this and contemplate what this really means. The deity of Tammuz is Babylonian, and Tammuz is the son of Semiramis, said to be the resurrected or was resurrected during the winter solstice. Guess what December 25th is tied to? It's tied to the winter solstice. Another deity is Mithras. And Mithras is a Persian Roman deity, a deity who was identified as the god of light, born from a rock on December 25th. Sol Invictus, another deity, a Roman deity. And it stands for the unconquered sun, S-U-N, celebrated under Emperor Aurelian in 274 AD. Another deity is Saturnalia, and Saturnalia is Roman. It's a week-long festival honoring Saturn, December 17th through December 24th. And it ended in child gift sacrifice and orgies. That's what Christmas is tied to. Child gift sacrifice and orgies. You see, the Roman Church rebranded this pagan worship. And here's what we know from history. This is what it tells us. In 312 AD, the Emperor Constantine, he claimed conversion, but mixed Roman paganism with Christianity. In 336 AD was the first record of December 25th as the Messiah's birthday. And we can find that in the Roman chronograph. Rome merged Saturnalia, Sol Invictus, into a Christian holy day to control the empire and unify pagans with new converts. These pagan elements were renamed. So be clear about this. There's a pagan practice and a renamed version of that practice. So the birth of the sun, which is Sol Invictus, that birthday is renamed as the birthday of the son of Messiah, the birthday of Messiah. The practice of decorating evergreen trees, guess what that's renamed to? Christmas trees. And again, Jeremiah chapter 10, verses 1 through 5 tells us exactly what these trees represent. Another renamed practice is Yule logs, mistletoes, wreaths. They were kept as tradition, but stripped of origin. Their origin is a pagan origin, has nothing to do with Yahawah or Yahawashai. And then the last one that was a pagan practice that's been renamed are drunken feasts and gift giving. What happens on Christmas? Yeah, there may be some drunkenness, but there's always some form of gift giving. And it's branded as joy and generosity, but is adopted from pagan practices. This is mixture, which Yahawah hates. We see that in Deuteronomy chapter 12, verses 30 through 32, and Amos 5:21 that we read earlier. Here's the scriptural warnings against this mixture. Deuteronomy chapter 12, verses 30 through 31. Take heed that you do not inquire after their gods, saying, how did these nations serve their gods? I will do likewise. You shall not worship Yahawah, your Elohim, in that way. It's a warning. Don't worship Yahawah as those who are not in covenant with him. Then in Jeremiah chapter 10, verses 2 through 4, do not learn the way of the heathen. They cut a tree from the forest, decorate it with silver and gold. Guess what that is? It's pretty clear that that's a Christmas tree. Amos 5:21 again. I despise your feast days. I will not smell in your solemn assemblies. He doesn't align, Yahawah doesn't align with feast days that are created by man. We call them holidays, but they're not holy days. They're not set apart days. They're not appointed times. So why does this matter? Christmas isn't a neutral tradition. It's a deliberate rebranding of Babylonian and Roman paganism. Even the date, symbols, and rituals were stolen and relabeled, stolen from paganism and relabeled. By celebrating Christmas, we defile the set-apart name of Yahawah. We mix light with darkness. 2 Corinthians chapter 6, verses 14 through 17. We teach lies to our children. We teach them about Santa, magic reindeer, fake nativity dates, and fake nativity scenes. We teach them lies. So just finally on this point, again, Revelations 18:4 is clear. Come out of her, my people, that you do not partake in her sins. Yahawah never authorized Christmas. The appointed times are clearly laid out in Leviticus 23 and confirmed in Jubilees, Enoch, and the Gospels. There is no place for Roman sun worship in the walk of the set-apart ones of Yasharal, period. Those in covenant with Yahawah, there is no place for Roman sun worship. That defiles him. That defiles his name. So celebrating December 25th as Mashayach's birthday is like showing up to a wedding on the wrong day and dancing with the wrong bride. It's out of order. If you have made it this far, you don't want to leave before you watch these next two slides. Why? Because month 3 is very significant. It's when Shabawai takes place. And we have known it to be and call it Pentecost. But the Paleo-Hebrew name, the original Hebrew name is Shabawai. And it presents a true timing to the birth of Yahawashai. There are many important events that are tied to Yahawah's cycle of 7 that you see here on the slide. We have created a video series on the cycle of 7s, and the first video in that series is live on the channel now. So I encourage you to check it out after listening to this video. That series will be enlightening. But based on Luke 1 and priestly courses, Yahawashai had a month 6 conception. He was conceived in month 6. This is not the Gregorian month 6 of June, by the way. It's something more profound and authorized by Yahawah. Consider this. When a baby is conceived, how many months does it take for a normal birth? 9 months. And 9 months from month 6 is month 3. What are these months? You see, Yahawashai was likely born during Shabawai, the Feast of Weeks, exactly 50 days after first fruits, which is observed during the Feast of Mithras, or the Feast of Unleavened Bread. So, take this for example. If a baby is conceived in September, month 6, they are born in June, month 3. The scripture tells us Yahawashai was conceived in month 6. And we see that in Luke chapter 1, verses 24 through 26. And you add 9 months to that, and you end at month 3. So Yahawashai's birth aligns with Shabawai. Not frost, not snow. It aligns with late spring, early summer. So are these months confusing to you? Well, let's clear it up. This is why Christmas is not an appointed time of Yahawah. Let's start with a bold but necessary truth once again. Christmas is not in the Bible. Not one verse commands it, approves it, or allows it. In fact, when you look closely, Yahawah hates when people adopt their feast and their customs. And he really hates it when his covenant people adopt the feast and customs of the nations, those not in covenant with him. So who are the nations? Again, they're not in covenant with him. There are those that are not following Torah. If you're Yasharal and not following Torah, you're outside looking in. If you're not Yasharal and obey Torah, you're grafted in as a branch to Yasharal, who are the root in the covenant with Yahawah. So let's look at appointed times. And there are appointed times that occur in the spring, and we call them spring feast or spring appointed times. And there are appointed times that occur in the fall, or fall feast, or fall appointed times. And they are commanded by Yahawah. Appointed times are tied to specific days of the 364-day year that's defined by Yahawah. According to 1 Enoch, chapter 72 through 82, we know that a new year begins the day after equal day and night in the spring. It always aligns with the day Yahawah created the sun, moon, and stars in Genesis 1, 14 through 19. He created those on day 4. So we know a new year always begins on day 4. It always begins in the spring. And that constitutes the month 1 of the year, of the scriptural year. Not the Gregorian calendar, but the scriptural year, Yahawah's year. And why is that important? Because it indicates when to observe these appointed times, very specifically. So Leviticus 23 makes it very clear when the appointed times occur, what dates they are observed. The only way to know to observe these dates is to know when the scriptural year begins, and so that we can observe them on the exact time that Yahawah has created them. These appointed times are designated appointments to meet with Yahawah and observe those days as he has commanded. But here's the truth. Christmas is not one of the appointed times. Christmas is a mixture. It's not sanctioned. In Deuteronomy chapter 12, verses 30 and 31, do not inquire how the nations serve their gods. You shall not worship Yahawah, your Elohim, in that way. He nixes anything that's not an appointed time. So here's a core truth that we need to understand. December 25th is the birthday of those pagan deities we mentioned earlier. Tammuz, Mithras, Sol Invictus. The tree, the wreath, the gift giving, the Yule log, all come from pagan fertility and sun worship. In Jeremiah chapter 10, verses 2 through 5, tells us that the practice of cutting down a tree, decorating it with silver and gold, and fastening it so that it doesn't fall down or move, that's a Christmas tree. And it warns against worshiping a Christmas tree. Basically warns against having a Christmas tree. And what Jeremiah describes is simply a Christmas tree before it was called a Christmas tree, before there was a Christmas. Yahawah hates man-made feast. And we read that in Amos 5:21, Isaiah 1:14. He hates them because he called them your feast. They're not his feast. They are man-made holidays that dishonor Yahawah and mix truth with lies. So what feasts are commanded? Yahawah gave us exact instructions for spring and fall appointed times, these spring and fall feasts, and they're found in Leviticus 23. And it's confirmed by the book of Jubilees, 1 Enoch, Torah, Exodus, Leviticus, Deuteronomy, Numbers. It's all confirmed. It's all aligned. And so this graphic aligns Yahawah's appointed times, his feast days, with the month and day that we can find on the Gregorian calendar to make it easy to understand when they occur. So these dates, as they occurred in the year 2025, become pretty clear. Here's what we know by reading and studying Leviticus 23. That Pesach, which is Passover, it occurs on April 1st, which is month 1, day 14. And it's a Tuesday. It's the third day of the week. Unleavened bread, Matazah, it occurs on April 2nd, or occurred April 2nd through April 8th. And in the middle of that, first fruits occurred. Yom Roshwan, and it occurred on April 6th. And then we see the Feast of Weeks, Shabawai. It occurred on May 25th. Trumpets, Shappurim, September 10th. Atonement, Yom Kippur, September 19th. Tents, Takiyam, September 24th through the 30th. Guess what's not on this list? Guess what doesn't show up here on this calendar? Christmas is not on this list. Read Leviticus 23. You will not find Christmas, but you will find these appointed times. And guess what the scripture tells us? It says that they are to be observed forever. That means there's no expiration. That means that they are still being observed now. We also can read scripture that tells us that they are being observed in heaven to this very day. So why does this matter? In 2 Esdras chapter 7, verses 20 through 24, it tells us that many will perish because they despised my law and denied my ways. This is Yahawah saying that because his laws are being despised, because his ways are being denied, people will perish. Again, in Revelations 18:4, it says to come out of her, my people, that you be not partakers in her sins. So the things that those who are not in covenant with Yahawah are doing are considered sin when they are observing these holidays that are acknowledging pagan deities. So if we keep man-made traditions like Christmas, we participate in spiritual fornication. Yeah, that's right. We're with the other girl and not with our Messiah. We teach our children lies, Santa, magic, fake Messiah birth. We violate the law, especially Deuteronomy 12:32, which says, do not add or take away. So here's the final charge to you. It's time to stop defending something Yahawah never gave us. If he didn't command it, it's not holy. If it glorifies pagan deities, it dishonors the Most High. If we keep Christmas but reject the appointed times in Leviticus 23, we're not walking in his ways. We're walking in Babylon's calendar. Consider this. Imagine as a child, your father planned a birthday party just for you, with your favorite food, friends, and music. But instead, your family cancels it and goes to a stranger's party across town. They sing someone else's name, eat food you hate, and pretend it's all for you. That's what we do when we celebrate Christmas and ignore the real feast Yahawah gave us. So Christmas dishonors the Most High, period. It glorifies idols and pagan symbols. It promotes lies like Santa, greed, and self. Just everything's about self. Yahawah forbids worship as the nations do it. We should not be following these man-made holidays and giving them honor above Yahawah. Imagine lying to a child for years about a fake man bringing gifts instead of teaching them to thank Yahawah. That lie becomes a seed of mistrust. You see, we're in the final hour. 2 Esdras 7:24 talks about people perish for rejecting Torah. Jubilees warns about abandoning the calendar. And Revelations 18:4, of course, again, says, come out of her. So the hourglass is almost empty. Where we stand in the span of time, we're closer than you think to Yahawashai's return. And if we don't act now, we may be too late to lead our families out. So we have to choose. We have to choose who we'll serve, and we should do it today. But again, there's zero scripture that supports Christmas. It is 100% pagan. So how do we walk in truth with our households? We have to unlearn the lie. We have to read scripture as a family and read it with the right perspective and with the right context and understanding who Yahawah really is, calling on his name, understanding that Torah is still in effect, because he said that we are to observe the feast forever. We need to return to his calendar, the 364-day calendar that allows us to honor him and to observe his days, his feast. We need to celebrate Shabawai, not Saturnalia. We need to lead with courage. Parents and responsible adults need to be the example. So this is an encouragement. You see, kids are hungry for truth. If we explain it clearly and show them how to live it out, they will follow our example. So there's a choice to be made. Either choose mixture or choose obedience. Men of Yahawah, stand like lions. Yes, I'm calling out men specifically, because men are the leaders in this world, and we have a responsibility. Here's what Scripture says in Sirach 15:13. Yahawah hates all abomination. And in 2 Esdras 2:47 says they stood stiffly for his name. Whose name? Yahawah's name. They stood strong. And that's what we need to do. We need to stand strong for the name of Yahawah and his ways. This is not the season for weak men. Our families are under attack. Will we defend them with truth or remain silent in mixture? Here's what we're calling for everyone to do. It's to break generational deception so that we can restore the way of Yahawah, so that we can defend his name properly. So again, what are you going to do? Are you going to choose mixture or obedience? Because it's time to declare this. As for me and my house, we serve Yahawah, not tradition, not mixture, only truth. Well, you may say those in my house are not following me, but you stand, you be consistent, you be the example. Why? Because you're covering them. They're under your covering. You're covering them. Continue to be strong. Continue or start to walk in obedience and not mixture. Shalom, family.